Hey folks, this is an exercise I give a lot of my students to help them learn the neck or make sense of the neck using just a tiny little bit of theory. So it's based on 2 shapes. That's all we have to learn, 2 shapes. Shape number 1, major 7th. Shape number 2, 7th. You may already know this little bit of theory that a 7th chord is inherently unstable. It has tension within it. It wants to resolve that tension by moving up a 4th. So we can use that in this exercise. We can move up to the C chord, up at the 8th fret, and do the same thing again. C major 7, we'll change it to C7. If we move up a 4th from C, F. So we can continue to do that until we've visited all 12 keys and we arrive back at G. That's all this exercise is. If you need a little bit more help with those shapes and how to move them, just zip to 8 minutes 55 and then come back here and do the exercises. So we've got like 4 things that we're learning from this. We're learning a couple of very useful shapes by repeating them all over the neck. We've also got that mental theory lesson going on because we're thinking and listening to those 7th chords. What does this lead to? A 7th chord goes up a 4th. So you can be counting up the scale, or you can just picture it. You know, a guitar is easy to picture in 4ths. The 4th sits below the root note there. You just think of the note that's below it. Oh, I'm gonna go to C. Where's that on my E string? Okay, there's my C. What's the next note? F. You know, you can do it that way. Or you can count up 5 frets. So G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get to C. Or you can count backwards 7. So C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 leads to F. So up 5 or down 7. So there's that that's going on. While you're playing it, you've got to be thinking, what does this resolve to? Where am I moving to? G7 leads me to C. C7 leads me to F, F7 leads me to B flat, B flat 7 leads me to E flat, and so on. We've got a great little picking exercise because it's not super easy to alternate pick those shapes. There's a bit of string skipping and direction change going on, but when you're doing it, pay close attention that every note sounds nice and even. We don't want those buzzed notes. The final challenge that I really like to do with this exercise, I like to play it with my eyes closed. I mean, I've been holding one of these things for 40 odd years. If I don't know where the 8th fret is by now, there's something wrong. By doing it with my eyes closed, I'm thinking through, I'm listening to what's going on, and I'm visualizing the neck and thinking where I've got to land next. So let's give it a crack. So G, major 7, G7 leads us to C. To F, to B flat, to E flat, oops, to A flat, to D flat, to G flat, or F sharp 7, to B, to E. Oh, phone's going distracting me. What was that? E7, A. To D. Sloppy as. And that's back to G. Anyway, you get the idea. It's very hard when you're doing it on camera and trying to explain it as you go. But you get the idea. All right, so let's give it a go. Let's do it together really slowly. Let's start off at like 40 BPM. first is a major 7th. We'll start on G. We're in second position, so that means my first finger is at the 2nd fret, but I'm starting on my 2nd finger on the G note here on the top string, 3rd fret. G, B, first finger, 2nd fret of the A string, D, that's my 4th finger on the 5th fret of the A string. So that's our 1, 3, 5 from a G chord. And then our major 7th. So that just means it's the 7th note of the major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's all it is, 4 notes. G, B, D, F sharp, 3rd finger, 4th fret, D string. Then we start that over. G, B, D, F sharp. This one's an even easier pattern to remember because we're just moving diagonally across the lower 4 strings. 5th fret on the D string, 4th on the G, 3rd on the B, and 2nd on the E string. So that's the G major 7. And then we arrive at our G note again, our root note. So that was our ascent moving up through a couple of octaves of a G major 7 arpeggio. For our descent, we're going to change that major 7. We're going to flatten it and make it a flattened 7th. That means we've got a G7 chord. So a G major 7 contains the F sharp note. A G7 contains an F natural note. So let's return. So those 3 notes are unchanged. There's our flattened 7th again, 3rd fret of the D string. The last 3 notes are unchanged. So this is our whole pattern. Shape number 1, major 7th. Shape number 2, 7th. Up a 4th just means up 4 notes of that scale. So G, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, 4. Wants to go to the C chord. Go and give it a crack. It's a great exercise.